The problem with most presentation advice is that it wasn't built for researchers. You'll hear things like grab attention in the first 8 seconds, use a killer hook. But if you've ever given a conference talk, you know that's not how academic audiences work. People didn't accidentally scroll into your session, they chose to be there. They want to understand your work. They don't give up after 8 seconds. And honestly, a lot of this hook culture, it just feels wrong in academia. You're not trying to trick people into paying attention. You're trying to help colleagues understand something important. But that doesn't mean intros don't matter. After working on more than 1,000 research talks, I've noticed something. The strongest presenters all do two things in the first minute. And the weaker talks, they delay both for 5, 6, sometimes even 10 minutes. So in this video, I want to show you the 1-minute rule I teach researchers. The 2 questions every audience needs answered in the first 60 seconds if you want them to actually stay with you for the rest of your talk. And I'll not only share the questions, but I'll share why they work. This is so powerful, you'll never want to start a presentation the same way again. So here's the rule. You have 1 minute and you have to accomplish 2 things. We'll deal with the second one first. The second one is that people have to understand the big picture of what you're actually doing. They need what I call scaffold, what research in the area often refers to as framing. I think scaffold works better. Either way, it's the whole picture within which your research fits. While you might think that's what an abstract is for, or my table of contents does that, neither's true. An abstract is too technical with too much detail and too much jargon. Table of contents names the path, but without any real meaning. It's a structure, but only a structure. This is higher order, bigger picture. It triggers questions that implicitly foreshadow but don't explicitly name the rest of your talk. When I work with people, I force them to do it in one 4-part sentence that's about 35 words total. And when you say it, the audience will think, I understand what they're doing. But notice what's missing here. There's no, finally, now I understand. Because it doesn't happen until 4 or 5, 6, 8 minutes into a presentation. It now happens in the opening minute. Just clear understanding. 2 problems occur when it happens too late. Half the people in the audience aren't listening anymore. And the half that are missed half of what you said up until that moment because they were still trying to figure out what you're actually doing. Instead, when you do this in the opening minute, everyone can relax and settle in. And that settle in will be settle in to listen when you've done the first part well. So let's talk about the first part. First part's simply to make them curious by assuring them you'll be talking about something that either has real value or something that's interesting and we need to know. For the value part, now it's a research talk, so it doesn't have to have direct value for the audience. Of course, it's a good bonus, but not in a necessity, the same way it is for corporate speeches or TED Talks. Because it's a research talk, the value can be that it solves a problem worth solving, even if that's of no direct benefit for the audience. This is the part most speech advice misses, and it's because you're a researcher and the speaking rules for you are different. But notice I said a problem worth solving. Remember, a knowledge gap isn't enough. It's the so what of the knowledge gap here that matters. But the other option, just being so interesting people need to know, well, that can be just as powerful. Know your particular audience. What will they find interesting enough to give you the 10 or 12 or 20 minutes you've been allocated for your presentation? All sorts of things qualify here. From a different way to solve an old problem to a surprising result that contradicts what other research currently shows. As a researcher, you're talking to a naturally curious audience. Leverage that to your advantage. But also test it. Don't assume because you think it sounds interesting, your audience will too. So that's it. It's a 2-step process with a 1-minute rule. The 1-minute rule is this: you have to do both steps in the first 60 seconds. So that means no personal bio, no thank you to the organizers, just jump right in. The first step, share something that makes people need to know more. And then the second, give them the big picture scaffold for your research that will have them nodding their heads and saying, I understand what you're doing. And then the rest of the talk, you're just answering the questions you've now triggered. Because when you do the opening minute this way, the audience is now wondering, how did you actually execute your approach? Why did you do it that way? How is this different from what others have done before? What was your primary result? How robust is it? What's the downstream significance or ripple effects? If answering these questions sounds like it covers background, methodology, results, discussion, good, it does. But notice it does it in a way that's an organic unfolding of information with a natural flow as it answers questions the audience now has, because the audience now has a basic understanding of the research and now wants a deeper, more technical one. And it works within memory constraints, because rather than trying to store disparate information in short-term memory until we figure out what's actually going on, we immediately make use of it to fill in the details of the big picture scaffolds you've already given us. If you want another way to think about it, think about how you read a journal article rather than how you write it. You decide you're interested in learning more, and you have a basic understanding of what they did, and then you dive in and data mine the paper to answer your questions. I call this the A and Q method. The first 2 answers happen in the first minute. There's that 1-minute rule again. And they answer the 2 questions everyone has at the start. Why should I pay attention? What do you actually do? And then everything else just flows from there. It's actually quite easy once you get the hang of it. If you want some help getting started, check out my digital course. It's for PhD and postdoc researchers, so you can become a great presenter in the beginning of your career, so your presentation skills can help your career. It's a gap in current university programming. It's a gap I've filled so you can develop the skills you need now before doors start closing, because people aren't leaning in to listen when you speak. When you're ready to walk into your next talk, confident you'll succeed, give it a try. I guarantee it'll help.